Okay, so we are live right now. Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. Welcome SACNistas to our second SACNas Hangout on Air, and thank you for tuning in. Today we'll be discussing how to fund and save your way to the SACNas conference. My name is Chiara Cabilio, and I'm the SACNas Communications and Marketing Coordinator. Today I'll be moderating our Hangout and making sure things move along. First, I'd like to introduce you to our awesome panel. We have Christopher Ponce, Marisol, Alonzo, Wanda, Crannell, and Madison, Esposito. Christopher is an undergrad at Texas Tech University and is researching the regulation of cholesterol metabolism and breast cancer proliferation. He attended the conference in 2014 and 2015. Marisol is a graduate student at Texas Tech University as well, studying applied behavior analysis and researching video modeling to teach children with autism social skills. Marisol attended the SACNas conference in 2014 and 2015. She's a 2015 travel scholarship recipient. Christopher presented his research in 2015, and Marisol presented her research in 2014. And at last year's conference, they, along with 8 other chapter of the year leaders, visited with Dr. John Holdren at the White House and took a tour of the Office of Science and Technology Policy building. So if you haven't seen their group photo in front of the White House on social media, definitely look at it. It's great. Wanda is the Oregon State University SACNas chapter co-advisor and the Bioresource Research Interdisciplinary Sciences Program advisor and instructor. She's traveled with her students ever since the 2012 conference, and in 2015 the OSU SACNas chapter had an incredible 28 students attend the conference, 7 of whom presented their research and 3 who received travel awards. Wanda has attended the conference from 2011 to 2015, throughout 2015. Madison is the Oregon State University SACNas chapter president-elect for the years 2016-2017. She joined the Oregon State University SACNas chapter during the transfer student orientation where she met Wanda. She loved her time as a general member and decided to run for president of the chapter, and she was elected to serve for this year through 2017. Madison attended the 2015 conference and is excited to bring more students to this year's conference. And currently she's conducting research on the underlying mechanisms involved with centromeric DNA and associated proteins undergoing accelerated evolution. So before we begin, I want to let all of you know you can submit your questions through the Q&A function of our Google Hangout. We will try to answer as many questions as possible, but for the questions that we do not get to, we're always available on social media, and I encourage you to ask specifically your questions on Twitter using the hashtag SACNas. Then we'll end the Hangout by opening it up from questions from our audience. Okay, so let's begin. Christopher, could you please elaborate on your personal experience fundraising with your TTU SACNas chapter?
Yes, of course. So our SACNas chapter really focuses on research. We always try to get our members into a research laboratory, and when members get into a research laboratory and get experience in their research project, they want to start presenting their research, or maybe their PIs want them to present their research at a conference. So that's how we promote the SACNas conference throughout the year, and we encourage our members to apply for the travel scholarship. But we also let our members understand that it is a competitive scholarship, so if you do not get it, we will help you apply for the SACNas conference registration, but we only help you if you apply for the travel scholarship and didn't get it. We also give priority to students who have been active in our student chapter, who have been volunteering, fundraising, have gone to our social events, things like that. So maybe we can have them stress a little bit less about the funding for the SACNas conference. So some of the things that we do for fundraising is we sell science t-shirts. We have shirts where we have engineering designs. We have some with biology designs, just things like that, so we can attract students from different colleges and departments at our university. We also reach out to restaurants, where restaurants set aside a time period, and all they ask us to do is be at a restaurant, at that specific restaurant from that time period, and we receive a percentage of the sales that were made during that time, and those get sent straight to our student organization. So that's a great way to fundraise. Our university also has a catering company called Top Tier, and what this catering company does is they allow students or student organizations to work for them for 8 hours a day, depending on how many days you want to be there, and each member gets paid $10 an hour. So we usually get our officers and some of our members to work at this catering company for, let's say, a Saturday. And if we have 5 of us, then that's 5 of us working 8 hours on that day. That's $10 an hour, $400 a day that we can make working with this catering company. If we do that once a month for 3 months, that's $1,200 that we can raise by just pretty much working together. And time goes by fast when you work with members that you know, or students that you know, which is really cool. Also, we have had a tamale fundraiser. So what we did was we got our officers together and we figured out whose mom can make the best tamales. So after that, we went to their house, bought the ingredients and everything that the member's mom needed. And we spent a whole day wrapping, making the masa and everything for the tamales. And then that night, while the tamales were cooking, we spent that time studying, hanging out, things like that, since it was a school night. We ended up raising about $500 that day from selling those tamales, and we focused on selling them to faculty and staff because we knew they love tamales, and it's really hard to find them here in West Texas. That was a successful fundraising event. It was also a great opportunity to socialize with members that you haven't met before, or just get to know an officer a little bit better. We also have Student Government Association here at our university. Every year they allocate funds to student organizations so they can use that money for advertising, or in this case, registration. This year we focused on making registration one of our main points, and we got $2,000 this year from SGA, the Student Government Association, to use for our members' registration fees for the SACNAS conference. So with those $2,000, we're going to be able to send 5 members without having to worry about getting that money from our personal student bank account. We also encourage our members to talk to their PIs and being active in lab, showing interest, and also visiting with your PI often. Don't just wait till you need something to talk to them. Just go to their office. I mean, we know that they're busy most of the time, but just go knock on their door, ask them questions about the research that you're doing, what may be next in your research. Just show that you're already thinking ahead in your research, and that you're interested and you want to continue to do all these things. And also show him that you're interested, or her that you're interested, by participating in local conferences. Our university has a local annual undergraduate research conference that you can apply for and practice presenting your research. So if you do things like that, your PI will know that you're very interested and you're dedicated to working in his research laboratory and presenting the research that you're working on in his laboratory, which is going to make your case a lot stronger. So when you do ask for fundings for example, the SACNAS conference, you will have a higher chance of receiving funding from the department that you're working in. And then lastly, if talking to your PI or talking to the Student Government Association or fundraising with tamales, t-shirts, Top Tier, things like that, still doesn't give you enough funding for all your members, start looking into university departments. There should be university departments at your university that are there to help undergraduates with their research, funding their research, and helping fund their travels for research conferences. For example, at our university, we have CALUE, so if CALUE, so maybe you can look for some of those at your university, and that stands for the Center for Active Learning Undergraduate Engagement. And what they do, every year they open an application where their tech students can apply for a travel award up to $1,000, so you can present your research at a conference. You just submit your abstract and a personal statement about why you think you deserve those $1,000 and how it will benefit you and how it will benefit the university. That is a great way to receive $1,000 for your travel expenses, which can go a long way depending on where the conference is being held. We also have, you can also ask the President's Office. 2 years ago, we asked the President's Office for funding. We set up a proposal with a list of members' achievements and awards that they've received, and we also specified a specific amount that we needed for the conference. And that year, the President's Office awarded our student organization $2,500 to send 2 members without having to worry about registration, airfare, or lodging. So that was awesome. So there's some of the things that you can do to receive funding from your university. And if not, you can also look for your local cross-cultural department. They're usually always ready to help you out if you're attending a diversity event like the SACNAS conference, which has National Diversity Conference in their title, which makes your case a lot stronger as well. So those are some of the things that you could do, reaching out to departments, talking to your mentor, Student Government Association, or your local SACNAS chapter to receive funding for the National SACNAS Conference.
Thank you, Christopher. Those are really great tips and advice. Marisol, you've mentioned summer research programs as an alternative funding option. Could you tell us a little bit more about your experience with this?
Sure, I will. My summer research program that I was involved in was the Plains Bridges to the Baccalaureate program. It's an NIH-funded program which is directed by Dr. Jacqueline Cañas Carroll. My personal experience with this program is that it helped me with a smooth and successful transition to Texas Tech University. The program also provided training to be successful in the lab, in presenting research, in professional development, and in networking. This program introduced me to my hidden passion, which is the world of research. This program funded my first SACNAS conference in 2014. Now, the SACNAS conference impacted my life in many ways. SACNAS has allowed me to embrace my Hispanic heritage and appreciate my culture. It has empowered me to continue towards higher education. My first conference experience also inspired me to bring more students to this conference so that together we can motivate other underrepresented minorities in breaking down racial and gender barriers. I wanted more people to feel that overwhelming sense of empowerment I felt standing alongside like-minded individuals during the conference. So this year I will be joining our current Bridges cohort to our conference this year in Long Beach. I'm really excited and looking forward to that. Also, another thing that you can do is to be proactive, think outside the box, sell yourself, sell your chapter, and most importantly, start early. Look at other places outside of your institution. We did a GoFundMe account, and our very own Hector Valencia, he set up our GoFundMe account in July. Our focus was on getting the entire chapter to the national conference. We shared it through Facebook, but unfortunately we only raised a little over $200. But I do believe that in getting the most out of crowdfunding, you need to start early and share through every social media network possible. Now, another option is to place an advertisement in the local paper. Here in Lubbock, we have Lubbock Latino Magazine and El Edidor, which target the local Hispanic communities in West Texas. Also, look for local Hispanic and Native American organizations and businesses to partner up for their community engagement events. For example, there's a few national organizations like LULAC, which is the League of United Latin American Citizens, and there's HAW, which is the Hispanic Association of Women. There's the Knights of Columbus, the Junior Catholic Daughters of America, and locally we have here the East Lubbock Community Alliance, and also Los Hermanos Familia, just to name a few. We partnered up with Los Hermanos Familia last year, and they're a collaborative group of men and women and youth who sponsor events for the community to promote family engagement and encourage awareness about social issues. Our chapter comes together and they volunteer for their community events. And in turn, they offer our chapter with a scholarship every semester for 10 years as long as we remain as an active organization. Now, this not only provides us with financial support, but also exposure and recognition for SACNAS and Texas Tech University. But at the end of the day, fundraising is not an event, it's a process. So start early, stay focused, stay committed, and most importantly, don't give up.
Thank you so much, Marisol. I think that was really great insight into showing how there are both, on-campus fundraising opportunities as well as off-campus. Wanda, so what about your alternative funding experience, and could you tell us a little bit more about the Career Wardrobe Makeover event sponsored by an Oregon State University student organization in partnership with your SACNAS chapter?
Absolutely. So alternative funding can be on campus or off campus, and I really love that everybody is thinking outside the box and looking for every stone unturned. The alternative funding, one of our chapter student organization works with their chapter over the course of the year, and they raise funds for the conference by sponsoring a career wardrobe makeover event. The career wardrobe makeover event is an opportunity to solicit donations for professional business attire from alumni. We partner with our Career Development Center, and all the folks that come to campus to recruit our students will get a note in the newsletter to say, please bring your lightly used professional donations to the next career fair, and then we'll have a club member go pick them up. One day a year we'll have an event in the ballroom where we'll actually sell business attire for $15. So somebody can buy an entire suit for $15. And by partnering with our bookstore as a drop-off location up in the Portland area, we'll get really nice donations from a lot of our alum in the Portland area, because that's just a bigger city than where we're actually located here in Corvallis. So setting up a drop-off point where a lot of your alum may live and work makes a really nice place as a collection site to go do that. We'll make around $2,000 a year, but the thing that's really nice about it is while we're helping our students get their professional attire, we're also helping our campus students get ready for the next career fairs as well. The sale of the professional attire, makes it so that students can afford a business suit at student-friendly prices. As far as on-campus funding or off-campus funding, I would just encourage students to make those asks, but make sure that you're prepared when you go make those asks. I think one thing that you'll notice about Marisol and Christopher is that they're not going in there making asks without being prepared. They've collected, a list of their achievements. They know what they're asking for. They have a budget. They're going in there really prepared to make those asks. And, be prepared for a yes or a no. I mean, even if it's no, you've had the opportunity to get the national organization out there. And even if they don't fund you this year, you want to make it so that somebody can go back next year and go, I learned more about that, and I'm actually ready to fund it now. So always leave a good impression. Always thank people for their time. Make sure that you're going in there well prepared, and make those asks. And just keep in mind, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I mean, if you make an ask and it's no, you're no worse off than you were to begin with, right? So, like Marisol said, don't give up, continue to move on. As far as some on-campus opportunities, find out whether your university, whether the departments in your university or your graduate program, maybe they're going to be hosting a booth at the conference, at the exhibitor fair. So that's an opportunity for you as a student to offer your time in trade for helping the graduate school at their recruitment booth, or helping your College of Engineering at their departmental booth, right? So you can offer a time trade for helping them out to be able to help sponsor you at the conference. Think about when you make any ask to anybody, whether it's on campus or off campus, how is this going to benefit you? So think about what are the benefits? Why do you want to go to the conference? What do you hope to get out of it? And how is it going to help you in your personal and professional goals? But how is your participation also going to benefit others? So think about, as a chapter member, are you going to bring this back and share it with the rest of the chapter that couldn't go? Are you going to reach out to your Educational Opportunities program or your camp or your bridge programs and get freshmen involved? And, just think about how you're going to share the opportunities around and how you're going to give this back and how it's going to benefit others. And then at the end of the conference, keep in mind that reporting back is not an option. Reporting back provides a thank you to everybody who sponsored you. And, a synopsis report to all your sponsors, an invite to a presentation by your chapter. There's a lot of ways where you can report back, but keep in mind that reporting back on somebody who funded you is really not an option.
Thank you so much, Wanda. Yeah, it's really great to have your perspective as a chapter co-advisor and like a faculty mentor. Madison, as a Native American student, how do you seek support from your tribe, and how else did you and your SACNAS chapter members raise funds?
Yeah, so when I first started becoming interested in SACNAS and found out about the conference and everything, my first kind of journey to try to get funding was to approach my tribe about it. And I actually didn't realize until I talked to the educational head at my tribe that I could go about this in this certain way. And what they wanted me to do was basically write up just like a grant for what I wanted to do and describe why it was important for me to go to the conference and what exactly the conference was, have an itemized budget for what I needed the specific funds for, and then I would have presented that to our chief and council of elders, and they would have voted on it and decided whether or not to give me that funding. Luckily, I was able to get in on another student's funding who dropped out at the last second, so I was covered that way. But if you are a Native American student, going to your tribe is a very feasible possibility, and it never hurts to ask, like everyone else was saying. The worst they can say is no. But so this year, as the president-elect, I've been helping our chapter get funding by going to the deans of the different colleges of students that are going to be going with us. So we prepared for this first by having all of the interested students that wanted to come to the conference with us fill out applications, and then that will tell us what college they're from, why it's important for them, and it also gives us their contact information so we can get to them during the summer to have them help us go to ask the deans. So what we do is we prepare for asking the deans by first, of course, setting up the meeting with them. And we usually directly contact the deans to set up these meetings. We do a very formal email and then provide times where we're all available. And what we try to do is do 3 to 4 people go to the meeting, and it's usually 2 officers and 2 general members from that college. And before we go to the meeting, we like to go over a set script where we make sure that we know and highlight upon all of the important things that the SACNAS chapter does here at OSU. So these are our main flagship events. Like we do this one event called Mi Familia Weekend, which has over 400 participants a year, and that's a really big focus that we have on how our chapter gives back to the college as a whole. But then we also have the members talk about how they've individually been influenced, either by going to the conference or just being part of SACNAS. And these things really speak to the deans, and it lets them see why they should be investing in the students going to the conference, being more involved on campus. And then there's also students that bring things back from the conference, such as internships, new connections for research. There's just so much. And when you bring this to the deans, it really, really gets them excited and helps them make that decision to help fund you. But of course, if the deans aren't there to fund you, if they don't have the funds, if they couldn't be convinced, there's other programs on campus, like the Vice Provost's office, which is here at OSU, where we actually have a matching deal with them, where whatever money we get from the different colleges, they'll match from their office, and we'll be able to fund the students that we couldn't get money from their specific colleges. So, and then, of course, after we come back from the conference, we compile a summary of every student that went, what their favorite event was, and what they got out of the conference, and we present that back to all of our donors to ensure that they'll give us funding the next year.
Great, awesome. Thank you so much, Madison. Yeah, I think your creativity of like the Mi Familia event, and then like visiting the college deans with your chapter members, that's an excellent idea, and I think a lot of our students can adopt that. All right, so let's open it up for Q&A. So for those of you who are viewing right now, again, please go ahead and submit your questions in the Q&A function of the Google Hangout. And we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. So we have one question here from Adriana. And she's wondering any fundraising suggestions other than GoFundMe, maybe if you know of any other crowdfunding sites, and how often should you do it, or how often did you do it, I think for Marisol and others, as an undergrad, so like the crowdfunding sites.
Our crowdfunding, I mean, we just started doing this last year, and we plan on doing it again this year, but in order to get the best out of your crowdfunding, you really have to start early. That's, I think, key. And not only that, but you also have to share it along all social media. You've got LinkedIn, you've got Facebook, you've got a whole bunch of different outlets out there that you can use that and share it with as many people as you can, because you've got to get it out there, and you never know who's going to see it, who's going to come across it. So, and what happened to us is we kept it on Facebook, and we started kind of late. So that's kind of, we learned. so hopefully, my suggestion to you is start early and share that crowdfunding site with everybody and everyone, and exhaust every social media network possible.
So, I noticed that your question says other than GoFundMe. You can look at, like I mentioned on some of my talking points, the top tier catering company. Check if your university has a catering company like that will allow a student organization to work for them for an X amount of dollars per hour, who will hopefully get sent back to the student organizations. And if you're not part of a student SACNAS chapter at your university, you can always go directly and talk to departments. You don't have to be part of a student chapter to ask for money from these departments. You just have to be a student at your university and have a good reason why you need that money. And I'm pretty sure if you can find a department, I'm sure there is one, then you will be able to get funding if you are dedicated and show that you're very interested in attending the SACNAS conference this year.
No, I think another option that goes unused sometimes is your own parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. the fact is October isn't that far away from Christmas. If you ask your aunts and uncles and grandparents, for a contribution for you to go to the conference, you'll probably still get something for Christmas too. But they'll really appreciate your dedication, that you want to go, that you're looking for a professional organization that you can go to, and that it's that important to you that you would actually perhaps give up your Christmas presents to be able to go to the conference and present your research. But and don't feel like you can't, like, I oftentimes at Christmas times, students or holidays, students will go home, and I'll tell them to be sure to bring their biggest chemistry book and fall asleep on it, because it makes their families want to give them money. So.
Thank you, Wanda. Yeah, I think that's a great point, all of you, and just not being afraid. And also, I think maybe sometimes we think that we underestimate how many of our friends or family members, our community, is really willing to help us achieve our goals, and for in this way go to the SACNAS conference. So yeah, like, be creative, don't be afraid to ask. Okay, so we have another question here from Leslie. She is wondering, as a community college SACNAS chapter, her chapter goes to their associated student government to receive funds for the conference. These funds are limited, and we would like to see how else we can fundraise for our club to go to the conference. Do any of you want to answer that question?
Yeah, I'll answer it. So I talked about SGA in my little section, and I know that SGA can sometimes be hard to work with. Their funds are limited in amount and also in how you can use them. So what we do is SGA tells us you can use X amount of dollars for registration. You can't use that money, you cannot use that money for airfare or lodging, just registration. Okay, so we can only use it for registration, but we also have our SACNAS personal bank account where our personal fundraising goes into. That money that the SGA gives us can be used for registration, advertisements, t-shirts, things like that. So what we do is we use our personal money for travel and things like that, registration, and we move the SGA money for advertisement that we would have used from our personal bank account. I'm not sure if that makes sense. So you're just shifting the money a little bit around so you can still use the SGA funding and still use your personal bank money for what you need to cover. So I hope that makes sense. I'm not sure if I confused you more, but you're really just shifting money around, and it's still the same thing.
So I went add a couple other options. I know at the community college it can be a little bit tougher because there's, usually there's not a lot of research that's going on. They don't have a research office at the community college. So I would ask the community college students, one is, are you part of a degree partnership program? So here in Oregon State, all of our community colleges are part of a degree partnership program, which are part of Oregon State University. So we're expecting transfer students to come into OSU. If they join the degree partnership program, they can take courses at their community college and at OSU simultaneously, or they can do one or the other and move back and forth. So if they have the opportunity to do some sort of a degree partnership with the university chapter, then that gives them access to the resources of the university. Does that make sense? So then they can actually go to the research office, they can go to the student affairs division, they can use student leadership and involvement, things like that. As far as community colleges, I would ask them to look at CUR, the Center for Undergraduate Research, which is a nonprofit board which works in Washington, D.C., and it is for community college students that are not high research impact colleges. And it's, again, it's a fundraising arm for Center for Undergraduate Research. So look that up on the website. Look for CUR. See if there are opportunities. See if your community college is part of CUR, and if there are funding opportunities there. Look for professional societies that might be affiliated with your area. So one general one is Sigma Chi. Sigma Chi is the research society, and it has grants in aid of research. So if you just go to the website and type in Sigma, S-I-G-M-A-X-I, Sigma Chi, and then G-I-A-R, which is grants in aid of research, that has a rolling deadline. And that can provide some grants for student support for research or travel to professional conferences. But there's also the Society for Environmental Toxicology and Analytical Chemistry, Society of Toxicology. There's a bunch of chemistry and engineering professional societies. For undergraduate students, even if they're community college students, joining these professional societies is cheap to free. It's usually less than $15. Whereas a professional, it can cost you significantly more. So I would just encourage students to look for some of those support opportunities through professional societies if they're at the community college as well.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to what Wanda said too, because I was involved in the Plains Bridges to the Baccalaureate program, which was actually a bridge between South Plains College and Texas Tech University. So looking for summer programs, summer research programs within a community college is also very beneficial. And the way you can go about that is talking to your science professors and your and even your mathematics professors, because a lot of them, usually when there is a Bridges program involved, there's usually a liaison for the community college and a liaison for the university, and a lot of times, you know, I mean, it's just finding out who to talk to. So if you are really interested, my suggestion is to talk to your teachers and see who you need to talk to, so that way you can get in communication with a summer research program that bridges community colleges and for your institutions.
Thank you. Yeah, I think those are really great insights. We have another question. So if a student is accepted to present, should they mention this when they are trying to fundraise?
I really think that you should, because that kind of gives an extra little oomph to why they should support you. Obviously, you're not just going for sightseeing and to network with the people there, you're also presenting research. And if you're presenting research, one of the best places to look for funding are through your PI, through the grant that they have for the research that you're doing, and then through the department that's you're actually doing your research in. All of those resources are very interested in you presenting the research you did for them, so they're much more likely to help you get to the conference. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Madison. And then another question, is it too late to start the fundraising now? I mean, I think for some of our students, it might be a little bit in panic mode, like, you know, it's less than 2 months to the conference. So is it too late to start now?
It's not too late. Actually, some of the departments that I mentioned don't open their applications until fall. So some of them haven't even started yet, so it's not something that you should worry about. They understand that a lot of conferences are in the fall, so don't worry too much about it. If they have their application opens in August or the first day of school, I think you'll do fine.
Also, like with our T-shirt sales, I mean, we did a lot of those during the first couple of weeks of school. So, you know, getting it out there at the engineering key and over at our free speech area. So it's not too late. And also, getting in touch with restaurants. I mean, that's a one-day event. That's, you know, it's just a matter of contacting the restaurant, setting a date, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it's not too late, and you can accumulate and get as many restaurants in line up until October, and that gives you plenty of time. So just a few ideas there.
Yeah, and Kiara, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Eric and you had said that registration is open until October 12th, and that there's also on-site registration. So the fact is they can register both online up until the 12th, or they can go all the way till on-site registration. So it's not too late until after the conference begins, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. And then, let's see. So we have actually a budgeting question. How should students develop a budget, and what is a realistic goal to aim for? And here at our in our SACNAS headquarters, we've developed a budget, and I'll be sharing that later on social. And I can go ahead and answer this question, but if any of you want to take it, just from your experience and with your chapters, budgeting in addition to fundraising, do you have any tips and advice on that?
Well, obviously the budget's not set in stone until you've actually got your plane ticket. I mean, the plane ticket tends to be the one that is the most iffy, and it obviously goes up the closer you get to the conference. And it also depends on if you're going from Oregon to California or Oregon to Washington, D.C. So the plane ticket is one that's the most iffy. My experience in going with students to conferences, no matter where, whether it's Texas, D.C., or etc., is it's usually $1,000 to $1,500 per student. $1,500 tends to be a little on the higher end. $1,000 is a little bit on the lower end. You know what your registration is going to be. The registration's $315, so that's a no. Ground transportation, if you're going with a group as part of the chapter, we'll have to get buses or vans from the airport to the hotel and back. And usually that runs around $25 to $50 a student, depending on how many we have and how far the airport is from the hotels. So, lodging, again, if you're sharing it with 1, 2, or 3 students, we cram 4 students in a room pretty regularly just to keep our budgets down. And it doesn't matter if they're guys or girls, we still put 4 in there. So, rooms can be as low as, $350 to $650, depending on how many you're sharing that with. But my experience is it's going to fall within $1,000 to $1,500 almost always.
Yeah, I just also wanted to say it's good to remember that even if you were awarded the travel scholarship, you still have to pay for your own food. So maybe bring that into your budgeting, even if you're having support from SACNAS for your travel. Just remember, you got to feed yourself.
Yeah, and so just looking at our budget that we developed, and again, this will be on social later. So yeah, lodging around $450 for 4 nights if shared with 1 to 2 other participants. Air travel around $300, and this is a round trip from San Antonio, Texas to Los Angeles, California. Conference registration, current student member includes lunch and dinner. This is around $375, and then ground transportation, taxi to from the airport and hotel, $60, and then of course snacks, other breakfast, $50. So really, so this would be the budget that you could create to attend, and it would come to around $1,235. And then for saving, coffee. Coffee is a huge thing that a lot of people, I think, don't think about. And if you brew your coffee at home, you can save something around $120. And then, you know, other money-saving tips: attend free shows or events. That's like around $90. All these additional, like, extra expenses that you know, don't really need. They're just like, they're just extras. And then you can save money that way. Rent or borrow books. You know, books are really expensive, so that's another like $560 there. So these are, you know, some ideas, and again, these graphics will be on social later. And then we have another question. Should students provide donors with a thank you letter or gift? And I would say yes, definitely. I mean, if they're donating money, you know, you should thank them.
Yeah, absolutely. And what our chapter does here at OSU is we actually put together kind of a booklet of responses from each student that went, of what their favorite event was, what they felt was the most valuable thing that they did, what they learned the most from going to the conference. And we also include pictures of the students at the conference. And then we have a night where we invite all of the donors, and we give them each a copy of this synopsis, and we talk about how the conference went and how much we appreciate their donations, and it's just like a little event just for them. And it seems to be really good because they remember every time we come back.
As far as the gift goes, I would say no. Right now, you guys are starving college students, and you don't want to like ask somebody for money to go to a professional development event and then spend money on a vase or something like that to thank a donor. I think that usually a picture, your smiling face, a card, something, you know, where it's not just a card that says thank you so much for your support, but really provides a personal message. You know, it was really valuable for me to go to this. I'm connected with these individuals that are important for my future career and professional development. People are supporting you because they're living vicariously through your experiences and adventures, and that's what they really care about. I mean, for me as an advisor, I know that sometimes students will get me gifts, and I'm just like, yeah, wait till you're rich and famous, and then you can come back with the gifts. So.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good point. You know, keep the gifts within your budget. You know, even if it's just a simple thank you card. You know, it can be simple, just showing your appreciation and your gratitude. And then let's see. I guess we'll have this be like maybe our last question, in case any more come in. So what were the main challenges, besides, you know, of course, starting late on, you know, crowdfunding? What were some other challenges, if you could just highlight a few, and how did you overcome those challenges?
So one of the biggest challenges that I've been facing trying to get funding this summer is it's the middle of the summer. Everybody is busy. They're on vacation. They're taking summer courses, which are a nightmare. It's really hard to get all of the officers and all of the general members that want to go to the conference together in one room to decide exactly what we're doing and how we're going to do it. So communication is really the hardest part. But I found it's really helpful to offer different modes of communication. Like sometimes when not everybody can meet in the same room, I try to do Google Hangouts like this with the other officer and general members. And sometimes I call them on the phone, I text them, I send email or messages over Facebook, just anything to get that communication across. And that's really been the hardest thing that our chapter has been facing.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so I think that these are just really awesome ideas, and I think they're going to really help our students. just being creative, and from Christopher, your tamale fundraiser, and then who doesn't like tamales? And then Madison, you going with your chapter members to each college, talking with the higher ups, with the deans and the PIs. Marisol, outreaching off campus to the community, to like-minded organizations, to local newspapers, all these ideas. And Wanda, you meant the event for bringing
we
suits.
call it our career wardrobe makeover event.
Current wardrobe, yes. I was like, current wardrobe makeover, and then you said that a student spent $15 and it was like an Armani suit, and so yeah, it's really the creativity and the dedication too. I think it's a huge part. All right, so we're almost up. We're almost hitting our hour mark. Are there any last-minute things that any of you would like to mention before we close?
So
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Christopher.
Thank you. Don't limit your outreach to the SACNAS chapter. You can be involved in other student organizations that can also help you. There are a lot of Hispanic or minority organizations at universities that are willing to help you, not just SACNAS. If you are an engineer, if you're a chemist, there are student organizations for those majors that can also help you out. It's not just SACNAS. That can really open up your networking with other people and hopefully find the funds that you need for the travel.
So I was just going to add, that it's really important to, if you can, make as many of your ask in person. It's easy to send an email or a letter, but it's really easy to ignore an email or a letter. It's really hard to ignore students who are coming in professional, poised, ready, with a purpose in mind. And so, my advice is try to make as many of your ask in person as you possibly can, and whether they fund you or not, you always want to thank them regardless.
Yeah, that's a great point, Wanda. Yeah, asking in person goes a long ways. And then we have just one more quick question. Just someone's curious about these specific, providing more examples for to get funding on campus. And a couple of things that we've come up with are, other than the SACNAS chapter, your career center, the financial aid office, if there's a education abroad program, campus units and student organizations. And then, of course, talk to your PI, your department, your professors, your advisors.
I definitely look at the vice provost for student affairs. Almost all schools, community colleges, or universities will have some division of student affairs. Look to the student affairs. Madison, maybe you want to talk about one of our fundraisers that we did on campus for Cinco de Mayo?
Yeah, so we did a fruit fundraiser on campus where we made these little cups of fruit with chamoy and tajin, and we actually made, we sold out 3 hours before we thought we were. We sold over 300 cups of fruit, probably made about $300 or $400, I think. I don't know the exact number, but fundraise all year, use every holiday as an excuse to sell food to the students because they want to buy it. They want to buy all your food. And also, if you're part of any kind of honor society or any kind of leadership group on campus, they also usually have scholarships for visiting conferences and other kind of professional development. So I would definitely suggest looking there. Those can be really great resources.
Great. Thank you so much, Madison. All right. Well, I think we're hitting our hour mark. So I think I'd like to end by just saying thank you so much to all of you, Christopher, Marisol, Wanda, Madison, for sharing your experiences and insights. And thank you to all of our viewers, our SACNistas, for asking your questions and viewing our second SACNAS Google Hangout. So again, we're able to, after this hangout, we're able to answer any of your questions. If you thought of anything later, just please go ahead and ask your questions on social media, particularly Twitter, using the hashtag SACNAS, and we will do our best to answer them right away. And let's keep the conversations going, offline too. And in person and online and within your chapters. And we'll also, for those who weren't able to tune in and view our live broadcast, we will have this this video, this hangout, archived on our YouTube channel, so you can refer to it, watch it again, rewatch it as many times as you want, share with your colleagues. Yeah, so thank you again, and we will see you at the conference, SACNistas. Bye!